Anyway, that set the tone, I guess, a little bit.
In your blood. It's in your blood.
In your blood. And so when I was about 10, I first started maybe picking up guitars.
Hey, this is Deb, and this is Happy Hour with Deb. And today I have a new friend.
Hi, Deb.
Jubal Lee Young. Thank you for coming to Happy Hour.
Thank you for having me.
Look, I feel a little crazy. I'm never at a desk. I'm usually sitting next to people, so I feel a little Johnny Carson-ish today. So, you never know what's going to come running out. How are you? Thank you for coming to Happy Hour. It is truly an honor.
Thank you so much for having me here. It's an honor to be here, and looking forward to whatever we get into.
Let's get into it. I mean, you've been in the business a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for 29. That's what I was
Right.
saying. You were like, how old are you? I'm like, 29 years old, for God's sake. How old are you?
I left that behind a long time ago.
Right.
I'm 53 at this moment.
Yeah. I'm a little older than that.
Yeah.
Did just have my driver's license.
Right.
I live in the headspace of the 29-year-old.
No, I'm not. I'm somewhere in that vicinity myself, I think,
Right.
Maybe mid-30s.
It's my world. It can be anything I want it to be.
I'm a slow learner and a late bloomer.
Yes. We have a lot in common.
In many ways, I think the pandemic was good for me, and that I got to go through the mail change a little bit and mellow in general, and sort through some old wounds and things.
Fantastic.
And figure out.
Healing is like the greatest.
Yeah.
It is the greatest thing people can do. And that's funny. We've talked a lot. The pandemic must be the topic of the day. We've talked a lot about the pandemic and the pros and cons. But when I hear that people came out on the other side better, it makes my heart happy.
Definitely.
Especially in this industry where everything just shut down.
Yeah.
I mean, performers that's what they're on this earth to do, and it's crazy. Take me back to the beginning
of the whole thing.
Yeah, the whole thing.
Well, I was born.
I did this to Cliff too, by the way.
I was born to Steve Young, songwriter, and Terry Newkirk, another songwriter, and they had met in Los Angeles through mutual friends, and eventually moved up to the Bay Area where I was born.
Okay.
And this was a period where my father had released Rock Salt and Nails, his debut album.
Right, wow.
I guess it made the Sing Ridges Road album, which was released on Warner Reprise, and then found out that my mother was pregnant and he'd had about enough of the music business, and they ended up opening a little guitar store in San Anselmo.
Wow.
In Marin County. And then at some point, I guess he starts early negotiations with RCA Nashville, and we moved over here. They bought about 22 acres out in Leapers Fork and near Franklin, and had a little hippie farm kind of thing.
I love that.
That's
Here in the beautiful state,
right?
too. It's such a gorgeous state.
And really, that's where my first memories started.
Wow.
Like I'm 2, maybe.
Wow.
And eventually, they come to an impasse and divorce, and I live with my mother, and I see my dad on the weekends, and she goes back to school eventually to get working towards a PhD in English. He's sort of finding sobriety eventually and revamping his career. And that was sort of the weird environment I grew up in.
Wow. We all have a weird environment.
Oh, sure.
Right?
And they were
Builds character.
they were a little too old to be hippies, a little too young to be beatniks, so they were sort of like in between a little bit, maybe. And anyway, that set the tone, I guess, a little bit.
In your blood. It's in your blood.
In your blood. And so when I was about 10, I first started maybe picking up guitars and showing an interest. By 12, I guess I had enough interest showing that they got me a few lessons with a gentleman that I took from for about a year, and got into learning the guitar. Maybe a year after that, I'm singing. Maybe a year after that, I'm writing. And it was just sort of its own little evolution. And of course, we talked about a minute ago, in order to step out of the very long shadow that my father cast as sort of a cult.
Sure, I'm sure. I mean, very successful. Yeah, that's.
I mean, he wasn't necessarily famous, but he wrote songs, you know.
Right, absolutely.
And so I played a lot of hard rock and roll for my teens and 20s.
Right.
And tried to do my own thing that way. I hit about actual 29.
Okay.
Somewhere.
That's the truth, not your driver's license. Okay.
Truth,
Gotcha.
29.
No, what stays in this room stays.
You're right.
You can be any age you want to be.
I'm ancient, sure. At some point, though, I started realizing that, really, I probably should embrace the legacy a little bit more. And it wasn't a hard stretch. I mean, I'd obviously grown up with my parents and their friends and their music, and there was a lot of bluegrass. And my mom actually almost married a banjo player after my dad. So it was definitely not a stretch to go back to some of the more roots, and that included not just country but folk and blues and bluegrass and all kinds of things. And a lot of my journey was set on it was defined a lot by my mother's record collection. Just when I really started getting into music, it was a lot of 45s, and it was all stuff from like the early mid 60s when she was in high school. So a lot of Motown stuff.
Right. That's so cool. Though.
And then eventually I got into the LPs, and there was Sgt. Pepper and Highway 61 Revisited.
Right.
Disraeli Gears. All this led me to a Hendrix obsession.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people were obsessed with Hendrix. So
early on, in my guitar playing days, which is really what I wanted to be, was just a guitar player.
Right.
And now you get these little garage bands, and nobody else can sing, so you start singing, and then
who wants to be the singer?
Right. And then you get bored playing covers, and you start writing your own songs, and before you know it, you're a singer-songwriter.
That's a great way to describe it, though, because I think the rest of us are like, I mean, I'm in awe by anybody who can perform anything. And to write a song, I mean, I can't even imagine.
I don't totally understand the process myself.
Right. I know when people come in here and talk about writer rounds, I'm like, I want to go on a field trip to a writer's round. I got to see this in action.
I mostly do it by myself.
Do you?
I don't do a lot of the co-writing thing. It's never grabbed me, and I've had experiences where you walk into the cubicles with a really good idea, and you walk out of there with crap.
Oh, yeah, that's not how it works once.
No, I would rather take the 2 or 3 years I have to take myself to finish those songs anymore. So now people ask me to co-write a lot, especially I think, a lot of times people that are new to town, they're told to go co-write with anyone and everyone you can. You never know.
Right.
And I'm just not that person.
That's okay.
It's okay. You can email me and ask, but.
Right. That's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been in your blood and it's in your family. You know what you like and what you don't like.
Right. And my dad was the same way. I mean, I think there is a DNA thing, a family thing, where, we are a little bit lone wolfy, maybe.
Yeah, that's okay.
And I think there's something, we're very serious about this on some levels.
Right.
And it's like, some people aren't, or they're just not on the same page or wavelength that you are. And it's like, I know what I want this to say and how I want it to be said. And if you just walk in somewhere and start writing with another person, it's a completely different dynamic.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Attitude. So, I don't know. I'm very cautious with it. I respect songwriting.
Yeah, I can understand that, though. It's your work and your art, and I can totally understand that.
And I'd rather, if something's wrong or if I should have taken more time with a line, I'd rather it be my fault.
Right. I get that. That's in credit, right? That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they are a lot of collaborations and a lot of, songwriting together.
And I also I don't write what the mainstream music industry here is looking for.
Yeah.
I mean,
that has to be very hard as an artist too, right? Because, it moves in different directions and that, and how that, keeping up with, I mean, you want to stick to your authenticity and what is, resonates with you, but.
I mean, I think you have to. And I think a lot of the reasons, listen, the pandemic, like I said, was good for me and my reflection and my healing. And a lot of the things I've thought about has been, my expectations of the music industry as I've navigated it over the years and how wrong I have been. It's not all their fault.
Yeah, right. But that's got to be frustrating as an artist, because it's in your head how you want it to sound and how you want it to feel and how you want it to resonate with people. But it's a business.
It is a business. And another problem I think I've always had is that I've always had very definite ideas about how I wanted things to be. And they definitely have not been whatever anybody thought was going to make any money,
Right.
So there is.
You guys have to get paid. We thought you were magical. Like you just came on the earth, made great music, and greatness came.
Well, I used to be that way more.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But, everything changes and people just discovered that there was a lot of money to be made in entertainment. And it's also become, I think, a means of achieving fame for some people.
Mm-hmm. It's a lifestyle.
Don't necessarily love music the way some people do.
Right. It is. It is the quickest way to become famous. So, yeah, I get it. But I can understand how you want to keep your authenticity and because it is. I've had the pleasure of meeting just the greatest artists like yourself and that have just, built their life into this. And it's a business.
It is a business.
From the outside, like us looking in, we think you're all rock stars, but it's a business.
Well,
lights to pay for. And
sure. No, that's absolutely the case. And the trick, of course, is, I think you have to mean it.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to be comfortable with what you're doing. And I think when you see people force it,
mm-hmm.
a lot of times that's when.
Can you tell as an artist who's kind of forcing it and it's not really?
Well, I think about that a lot. I've been reading a lot of articles, not that I have a dog in the hunt, but people really trashing the new Katy Perry record.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, she really had a moment for a while in the 2000s.
She really did. She was it.
And now.
She was the Taylor Swift.
But she hasn't evolved as an artist.
Mm-hmm.
But she's trying to recreate this moment, and that's not how art works.
Yeah, what a great phrase. What a good, right.
So there's that. And then I think about Guns N' Roses the other day. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine. I'm like, you know what? If I'm being honest, they peaked with Appetite for Destruction. Their debut album.
Yeah.
That was the.
I had a dog named Axel. I named yesterday. That's how much I love Guns N' Roses.
And I love them, but that album was amazing, and everything after that was their decline, basically.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, how sustainable? When you get this big name and everybody knows who you are, how sustainable is that for an artist to keep that going for?
I think it depends on how secure you are as a human being. And I don't know how many of us are at the ages in which we like to make our superstars.
Yeah.
What 22-year-old really knows who they're going to be?
I don't even think kids should go to college at 17. I'm like, they're just not prepared to go into that world.
I agree. And at 53, I'm finally getting a clue as to, I think who I really am and just unabashedly.
Yeah.
There comes a point, and I've seen this in younger people. I was not gifted with that. The confidence, just the surety that this is who I am. This is what I stand for. And I really don't care what you think about it. That's something that I looked for in myself for decades. And I didn't find it until actually really more recently.
Yeah.
And I think it's all wrapped up in not only age, but in parenthood and
absolutely. Yeah.
And just experience in life with other humans.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you took a break.
I did.
How did that feel? Like when you're used to being an artist and used to being, in the spotlight. What's it feel like to just be like, I'm gonna ride this out for a little bit?
Well, I don't know if it was a plan. It was wrapped up in multiple things. I really didn't put out my first commercial release until I was 34 or something.
Which, sounds like you're like 34, which sounds so old, but it's still a very young person.
I had a lot to learn at that point.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's still, because we're so used to seeing artists now that are, so young. But it takes a while to build a career.
It does. And money was a big issue, and being raised in Nashville and not really playing country music and not really playing commercial country music. There's just not that much. There's a lot of the industry that's just closed to you.
Right. Yeah, you don't have as many doors, I'd imagine, as the
And,
country music capital of the world.
right. And you do have to survive, so you wind up, working jobs, and it takes away your time for making music, and things roll on. That was really the story a lot of my 20s anyway. And then in my 30s, I mean, I got some opportunities to go, and I did some touring, a lot of touring in Texas, actually. And some with my dad. We did to Europe. I did
That's
Europe
awesome.
with Justin Towns Earl in 2007, and started making more of a run at actually doing it. And the whole time, though, I did not have a very good partner in my first marriage. And that is the marriage that my daughter came out of. And I found that really we separated and divorced. And being on the road with, at that point, a toddler.
Yeah, so say, how old was your daughter at that point?
We separated when she was 2 or 2.5.
Wow.
And
yeah, that's very young.
And that was really when I started the Texas thing. So, I mean, I couldn't just go live on the road anymore.
No.
I mean,
your obligations are to your children.
I wound up with custody.
Wow.
So I was, single dad, and it just really made the sacrifices you have to make to get that career rolling pretty difficult.
Yeah, because the sacrifices are enormous.
Oh, yeah.
You have to blood, sweat, and tear. Like, it's your life.
You do. And, a lot of car tours and cheap hotels.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just not any
not for a child. Yeah, absolutely.
So, I really had to wait. I mean, I tried for a while to make it work, and I would do things like book my tours while she was visiting her mom.
Right.
My mom and grandmother sort of made a babysitting tandem that worked sometimes.
Awesome.
And I mean, I could, but I couldn't really work like I needed to.
Right. Exactly.
To make it work. So, and eventually, I just resigned myself to that. And I mean, I never quit making music. I never quit writing. I never quit having little project bands or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as like seriously trying to go out and do what I knew I needed to do to get anywhere, I did.
That's how you build a name.
I did.
You've got to be in front of people. Right. And, I mean, that's how artists get big. They're in front of people.
Right. And now, I mean, at this point, I think I'm in a genre that's not going to punish me too much for being a little bit of an old dude. The child is 18 and voted for the first time.
I know. Congratulations.
And so now I'm in a position where what, I could go back and get back to work, and I do have a track record. I did have albums, that charted. I was on The Voice.
Stop it.
We have thrown this under the. Yeah, no.
I love those shows, though. I mean, from every walk of life, you can be. I mean, look at Carrie Underwood,
Yeah. Actually, my grandmother was buddies with her grandpa.
Oh, really?
They went to the same dance right there in East Oklahoma.
Oh, that's so funny.
They had a lake house on Lake Uvana right there where she's from. But I was dating a lady that ran a music school in Tulsa.
Okay.
I was living over there for a little while. We were Nashville expats for
right.
about 8
Okay.
years. And she had a friend that sort of knew one of the casting agents, and he'd asked her if she knew people who might be good for the show. And so we did. We went to the local audition, and they surprised us by asking us.
Was that when it started with Maroon 5 guy? And
this was season 9, so it was 2015.
God, it's been around a long time.
Everybody's still there.
And American Idol, it's another one that's been around. Still on.
That year it was Blake Shelton, Maroon 5, Adam,
yes,
Nadine, Gwen
Stefani.
It was her.
God bless her.
It was Pharrell Williams.
Yeah, Pharrell Williams. Wow, so that's a lineup.
Yeah, so we went to the Oklahoma City audition. They ran us through and made us sign a non-disclosure. We ended up getting invited to the executive auditions in LA.
Right.
Went to that. Again, went to the blinds, and Pharrell and Gwen turned for us. And we were doing a duo thing. Jubal
Wow.
and Amanda.
Wow.
And I proposed to her at the blind audition.
Stop it.
I did. We had a little viral moment.
Just to spur them, you had planned this. Because, like, who just gets down on one knee?
I mean,
that voice.
We sort of planned it. Like,
right.
I let the producers,
that is fantastic.
I let the producers know it was a possibility. They were like, that would be really
They're like, let's do it.
And Amanda was like, well, you do whatever you want, but I don't want to know about it.
Right.
So her reaction was
delusionally blind.
But it's not like we had definitely been talking about the
right.
It wasn't like, I'm going to spring this on.
Wasn't your third
on national TV.
Right.
No.
It wasn't like 90 Day Fiance.
Yeah.
Good.
So, but then we made it through the blinds. We chose Pharrell, which I just liked his vibe. I didn't really hang out with him as much. I didn't get to know him that much like I wanted to. And we didn't last that long. We were eliminated in the next round.
First of all, if you made it on the show, bravo. Because how many artists go? Thousands and thousands of artists.
It was a lot. And it was fun. I mean,
I bet it was great fun. Yeah.
And I, would I have gone and done something like that myself? No. I mean, it was because I was dating her and she was like, yeah, let's do this. So
she was the pot stirrer.
She was
let's go. Everybody needs somebody like that in their life.
Yeah. So it was, it was a fun experience. I was kind of glad to get home.
Yes, I'm sure. I'm sure.
A lot of back and forth.
Yes.
And so right after our last episode aired, though, is when my father had a fall in his home and had a traumatic brain injury. And so I had to come back here and really deal with him and take care of him and get his house ready to come home to and all the things. And it
did your father ever remarry or no?
No. No. He had one and done for him.
Yeah.
He dated some, but mostly
that's okay.
Not in years.
Right.
And so I did come back and deal with that and was taking care of him, and that sort of prohibited me from doing much with the momentum from being on the show, frankly. And
life throws some curveballs, doesn't it?
It did. And it ended up breaking Amanda and I up as well. So,
right.
We're buddies still, but
that's the most important thing.
Yeah. And then my dad did eventually pass a few months afterwards. And I ended up just staying in Nashville.
Yeah.
So
it's a great place. I love Tennessee.
Yeah.
I love it more and more every time I come here. I fall in love with it more every time I come. I think it's just a great place.
It is. It's nice. I voted for the infrastructure thing today.
Well, it needs it. It desperately needs it.
Public transit.
I know. It desperately needs it. It's going to sink almost. Like there's so many people here now. But I mean, I love that Nashville, since the country music has come so far, that people aspire to come here. People that tell me they've never been here, when I say, I work there, people are like, I've never been to Nashville. I'm like, get on your bucket list immediately. Yeah. It's a very cool place. Everybody's really kind and humble. Yeah. So when did you get back full in?
Well, I am still somewhat working on that. I'm looking for a booking agent, the right booking agent, and I'm ready to get back to work. And I put out Birds Warble. We released that in June, and it is the initial release was 14 tracks, but there's a bonus version that's 19.
Right.
And it's almost entirely cover songs. It was basically like sort of the soundtrack of my childhood / a little bit of a tribute to my dad. There's like 5 songs in there, including the big one, which is, of course, we haven't dropped the name yet. He wrote, Seven Bridges Road.
Yes,
that he was up there hit with. And then I didn't do Long Ceremony and Mean that Waylon did, which is probably the second most known one, but some of the others on there are also several that Hank Jr.
It's blowing my mind that you still, at this, point in time, you're hearing all the songs that your father wrote. That's crazy.
Well, he did write a bunch. Some of those two were the bigger hits, I guess. And Lonesome Unwritten wasn't even really hit. It just became like the signature song of the outlaw movement in the 70s. That was June, and I've been working on the follow up, which is going to be 13 original songs.
It's beautiful. And when is that set to release?
We don't have a hard date, but probably early summer.
Okay.
You know,
so how's it feel to be like back in the biz?
Well, I mean, it feels good in that I'm back in the biz on my terms. Like,
yes.
You know, I'm carefully selecting my team. I'm very happy with the ones I have now.
Beautiful.
I want to find a couple more members.
Right.
And get the machine rolling again.
So what does your daughter think? Like, my dad's this cool rock star.
Well,
that's fantastic.
You know how kids are.
Yeah.
There's also, she's going to have fun poking fun at me if she thinks
right.
Well,
you know, right. She'll remind you of all the things that, you know, kids remind. And girls are good at that. They're good at remembering.
Yeah.
Way better than boys.
We're very much buddies, and
that's great.
And,
sounds like you have a beautiful relationship with her.
We do, and you know, very bonded, and had a lot of trauma bonding over my second ill-fated marriage. So.
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I know, because we just want everything to like be happy and work out. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, wait, was that the girl that you were on The Voice with?
No, we never did that.
Okay, and then you went for a third one.
I did.
You actually have a lot in common.
This was an old flame that came back around from in a period where I was maybe like not thinking right. This was.
Oh, we all have those periods in our life, my friend.
This was the aftermath of my dad falling, and I was probably a little emotionally vulnerable at the time.
Sure.
Rolled with it. It was a big mistake, but I learned a lot, and I bonded a lot with my kid over it.
Like that.
It was something, and we're great.
I bet you're very tight. You know, when you're being raised by a single father.
Yeah.
Of all things. You know, it is very different. Well, I give you a lot of credit. I mean, I am a parent. I didn't have to raise her single, but I can tell you, it's the hard damn work.
Yeah.
To raise a great human being, it's hard damn work. And, you know, I know being a parent, you'll do anything. There's nothing you won't do.
And she is. And we're tight and all good.
That's awesome. I'm so glad to hear that. And shoot to vote. I love that. I was just a little stand on like exercising your right to vote, because that's when here in America, that's one of our gifts that we can get.
Absolutely.
Where do we want this to go? Tell me where you're going. Where do you see this going?
Well, I don't necessarily have any great desire to be a household name. That's,
You're a legend.
We'll leave that.
You don't need to be a household name.
But, I want to get back out there. I would not mind contributing to the tapestry of the Americana world. And
absolutely.
Have that young voice and vibe out there.
Yeah.
And...
well, you have such a great voice. I can imagine that the singing is just incredible.
Well, I have been told that.
Yeah, I bet that's... Can your daughter sing?
I know she can, but she's not her calling. So
it's not her calling.
She might start. She started to imply that she's maybe warming up to the idea. But
right.
I think when she was younger, having Steve Young and me as grandpa and dad was maybe a little intimidating.
Yeah, that's a heavy hitting lineup.
She's into horses. She's
beautiful. And you know what? What a great area to be where you are to be. And that's just incredible.
Yeah.
So you don't see the goal being like touring? No.
I
want a tour bus. If
I want a tour. I just, I think I've always been somebody that's been, I would be pretty happy with like the idea of being able to walk down the street and not be mobbed is something I will always cherish. So I think my dad too. There was a little bit of I want to do this and I want to make a living and I want people to know who I am, or else I won't make a living. But I don't really want to be. I don't want to be Taylor Swift.
Right. I don't want all the attention.
Is prison. That looks like prison.
I'm not even kidding, too. And I'm such a football fan. I'm like, damn, now the camera's in her all the time. This is screwing up my whole game. But yeah, I can't even imagine. And, to be known and have a well-known father, from us looking in, that's like a world that we're just never used to seeing.
Yeah. I mean, I certainly have had a minimal of personal success in a way. I mean, yes, I've been on The Voice. Yes, I've had albums chart on minor charts.
That's amazing. That's a lot of success.
But I I really love it, and I really feel like I should have a seat at the table.
Yes.
Doesn't need to be at the head.
Right.
You know,
Well,
but-
sometimes you don't like the people at the head.
No.
Sometimes they're just not your tribe.
No.
How about Texas? You gonna go back and perform in
Absolutely.
Texas?
I mean, I almost did book a little run through there coming up, but didn't quite work out. I am going to Oklahoma shortly for a couple of dates, but I will be back to Texas.
Yeah.
There's some venues there.
Well, I would love to see you
Yeah.
play.
I mean, probably in your neck of the woods, we're looking at maybe the Castler or Port Davis Pub.
Yes, yeah.
It
It is such a great. I mean, I think Texas and Tennessee are like big and little sister, but it is it's just a great state, and just the love of artists and at any age
Sure.
is just such a great. And I applaud you for good golly. I mean, everything you went through, your father, and then raising a human being that's now voting. She's working the system. I love this. and you're going back out there.
Yeah. Well, why not? All
right.
She's kind of like, she's ready to go be merch girl or whatever.
Right.
We'll do it.
Trevor and I might be merch girls.
Right.
Right. Yeah. We got some weekends free, right, Trevor?
Well,
No, right. I know we don't have any. Well, Trevor has a young child. My kids are all grown, but yeah, I get it is. Well, how exciting for you. I'm honored to have you on the show. It has really just been a pleasure. Tell the audience where they can find you.
Well, there's a couple of different web addresses that'll get you to me. There's JubalLeeYoung.com, which is my full name run together, JubalLeeYoung.com. And a simpler one is JLYco.com.
Okay.
That will get you to the same website.
Social media,
a lot of times those links are all on the website, but mostly at Jubal Lee Young is the handle for most of them.
So you weren't an artist when the whole social media craze.
Well,
Different world.
I was.
Oh yeah, I guess you were.
It shifted a bit, and I'm sort of a little behind on kind of like TikTok and Instagram.
Oh my gosh, I don't do my own, thank God, because they would never be done. First of all, that whole schedule thing, I'd be like, what do you mean? Like, that's a lot. It's a lot.
I did got some tools. I'm getting it. Okay.
Good. That's all you got to do. That's part of the industry.
Absolutely.
That's how, names are made. But all right, I have one last question.
Yeah.
Will you come back?
Absolutely.
Keep us updated on the success, and we want to hear more.
I hope I have some to report.
Oh, I'm sure you'll love it. When you're on that tour,
yeah,
we got to go. We're in Texas. We'll go. We'd love to see you play live. That is amazing. Thank you so much. It's been an honor to have you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.